Hi, I'm Rusty Nail from Grex Airbrush. I've been painting figures since 1993, and through the years I've come up with various techniques from other artists with painting skin tones, different ways of painting them, different varying techniques to achieve different types of skin tones. What we're going to be painting is a large-scale figure bust. This is a large-scale figure bust of a vampire. I chose this subject due to the nature of the subject, which is pretty much all skin tones except for the eyes and the teeth. Before we get into the actual painting of the model, I'd like to discuss paint products. What we use in figure modeling are mainly water-based acrylic paints. All these paints I will discuss have their own reducers and extenders. The first color I'd like to introduce is Chris Illustration Paint from the Bloodline series. This paint is heavily pigmented, which is why I like it. The downside to this paint is that it does tend to have tip dry on your airbrush needle if it is not reduced. The next color I'd like to introduce is Garage Kit's color. These paints are also heavily pigmented, wide variety of colors, but again the downside is tip dry if they're not reduced. The next paint I'd like to introduce is Calm Art. Calm Art has a wide variety of colors. Calm Art sprays beautifully through the airbrush with little to no tip dry. But the downside to this is that it's very, very delicate. So unless you have a barrier between the paint and you handling it, it is liable to rub off, which is very frustrating. The next product I'd like to mention is Golden Airbrush Paint. I like this paint because it is heavily pigmented. There's a huge variety of colors. It sprays beautifully through the airbrush with little to no tip dry. The downside to this paint is that it does dry glossy. So if you don't want the glossy finish on your model, then you're going to have to probably use some kind of flattening agent. This particular paint has its own extender. What I like about this extender is that it can be used with a wide variety of different manufacturers of paint. The next paint product I'd like to introduce is Reflex Paint. The good thing about this paint is it has a huge selection of colors, varying different shades of any one particular color in the paint line. The downside to this paint is that it will clog your airbrush, and there's a tremendous amount of tip dry if it is not greatly reduced. The last product I'd like to introduce is Grex from the Private Stock series. I really like this paint, and it flows through the airbrush very nicely with little to no tip dry. Again, this product has its own extender, which is compatible with many other different manufacturers of acrylic paint. The only downside that I can see about this product right now is that it is a new product and it has a limited range of colors. These are the paint products that I use when I paint my model kits, but there are many other quality paint products out there on the market. In the next video, we'll actually be priming the figure that we'll be painting.